It's said that the parents who raised you are the parents that put you in therapy. And while not everyone feels the need to go to therapy, I can guarantee you that there were times in your childhood where your parents were not able to fulfill all your needs. And this is actually a good thing. It helps us to individuate from our parents. It helps us to be able to start seeing them as humans instead of godlike creatures. And what remains is a wound. The size and shape of that wound varies from person to person, but no one gets out unscathed. This is where reparenting comes in. Wait, what the heck is reparenting? Hello lovelies, welcome back to Squeaky's Cauldron. I am your host, Sarah Evergreen. I'm a spiritual coach specializing in inner child work, shadow work, and boundary work, as well as deepening your relationship with deities. Thank you for coming to my weird, witchy corner of the internet. Today, I'm going to be talking about the basics of reparenting. What is it? Why is it? Why should you care? Hey, just popping in real quick. This video was recorded before the launch of my Patreon page. If you are not familiar with that, go ahead and check the link out in the description. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to my amazing patrons. We've got Daniela Respress, Valerie Feel, Samantha Eden, and Haisam Ismail. Thank you so much for your support. And now on to the rest of the video. I'm going down this beautiful rabbit hole because I am developing a whole course around reparenting that is rooted in magic and working with the tarot. And I want to start unpacking these things as well as giving you a peek into what you might be able to expect from this course to see if it's something that would resonate with you. So reparenting started as something that happened within the therapeutic space. Essentially, a therapist would take on the role of the parent and the client would then be able to reenact things from childhood or find a healthier dynamic with this person in the role of parent, which is great. So many different modalities in therapy work really, really well within this client-therapist dynamic. And I personally don't think that reparenting is actually one of them. I think that it is so much more powerful to be able to create that dynamic within yourself so that you are not, once again, looking outside for validation or outside for healing. So that's what I'm focusing on, is how to reparent yourself. A little background for me, and I may go into this more in a later episode. I found myself in my late 20s and early 30s, really all of my life, but like that's the crux time. I found myself feeling angry all the time. All the time. It was this low level, like lava of rage that just swam through my entire existence. And it was exhausting. And it led to occasional, not so occasional eruptions, which then hurt the people I love, hurt the relationships that mattered to me, and hurt myself. Because there was always this running dialogue in my head about how I was awful, and you know what that dialogue sounds like. My understanding of the reparenting process is that essentially, we're getting really bare bones here, you create parent archetypes within you that can give your inner wounded child exactly what they needed when they needed it. That's one part. The other part is to become that parent so that when the inner child does start throwing a tantrum, you can then start to regulate your nervous system through somatics and start to talk to that inner child and tell them, I hear you. Yeah, that sucks, that hurts. I get it. Whatever it is, you are capable of giving that to yourself. And this is what reparenting allows to happen. With the archetypes of the parents, you can go back and heal past memories by inserting these new parent archetypes into the place of where your parents had been and rewriting those neural pathways. That's a whole thing. We'll talk about it later. And in this other case, You have your embodied parent energy being able to give your inner child what they need in the moment so that you can move forward in a way that feels in integrity to you, rather than lashing out as your inner child may want you to, or shutting down as that inner child may want you to, depending on the programming that you got when you were a kid as to what was safe, what was allowed, what was acceptable, and what would get you what you want, or as close to it as possible. So let me know if you feel like sharing. What's one thing that you know that you didn't get, whether it was one time or just chronically didn't get as a child, that you absolutely needed? Drop a comment below, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. If you're enjoying this video, please drop a like below. It helps tell the algorithm that you're enjoying things. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. This channel is awesome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and get the notification bell going so you don't miss any future episodes. Okay, Sarah, but my parents were great. Like, I don't have anything to complain about. Why would I want to create a new parent archetype? Why would I need to reparent myself at all? I would bet that if you've gotten this far in the video, there's at least some small part of you that knows that that statement isn't 100% true. And that's not to say that you had bad parents at all. That's not to say that your parents were abusive or manipulative. That's not to say that you want to replace your parents. Reparenting is not about replacing your parents or trying to cast them in the light of villain. No, reparenting is, I think, just a basic human need, because our parents are all human. And humans can be stupid, self-centered, self-destructive, working with their own wounded child, busy, tired, in pain. All of these things can lead to not being able to deliver exactly what your child or someone else in your life needs in that moment. And many of us, our parents' generation very much included, haven't gotten the tools, the teachings, the knowledge of how to communicate that in a loving way. Recognizing that your parents weren't able to fulfill all of your needs is not a condemnation of them. It is instead an opportunity to turn towards yourself, to turn towards your inner child, the little you that got hurt, and say, hey, I see you. I see you, and I've got your back. Making that promise to yourself can change everything, because then you've got like this internal little kid to be accountable to, and internal teenager, internal young adult. Again, we'll get into those archetypes later and really explore what working with and healing with them looks like and feels like, especially the inner teenager. That's probably my favorite. What can reparenting bring you? This is a great question, because it's not a comfortable process a lot of the time. In large part because we do have to make that initial acceptance that I didn't get all my needs met, and do a little grieving around that. But when you have the courage to go through that difficult place and into reparenting, what comes of it is a deep level of healing. And healing is also a word that can be a little wishy-washy. As beautiful as healing is, I'd like to get a little more granular. Reparenting your inner child, getting that relationship into a new and more understanding and loving place, can start to replace the self-talk that brings about a lot of suffering. Like if you've got this loop saying you're not good enough, you're dangerous, nobody's ever going to love you. Through the process of reparenting, you'll be actively changing it. Because when that little voice pops up, that little voice that says, I'm not good enough, it's very often coming from the inner child. And then you can look at that and be like, I see where this is coming from. I see what triggered this. Another benefit of doing reparenting is that you open the space for honesty. Honesty between you and your parents, honesty with yourself, honesty with the rest of your relationships. Because if there's these wounds from your childhood that are unaddressed, that are unrecognized, they're going to reach out over time and impact your relationships right now. It happens. It just happens. When we pack these things away, essentially putting them into the shadow, they get stronger and they demand to be heard eventually. Another great thing that can come out of reparenting is nervous system regulation. Because so many of us, our nervous systems got into dysregulation when we were children, when these wounds started happening. And the severity of that obviously varies from person to person, but we can often trace it all the way back. And so when we start healing that, we can start healing the nervous system as well and bringing that back, not into a state of balance, but into a state of resiliency so that we can navigate stressful situations without it completely breaking us. If you're interested in this work, please do check out my coaching offers in the show notes. I've got a couple of options available for you, and I also have custom meditations available. So go ahead and schedule a free 20-minute discovery call. It's just a vibe check kind of thing. See how we can work together, what we might be able to bring to the table together and create. That link again is in the show notes, and I will talk to you soon. Before I go, I want to leave you with one practice that you can bring into your life right now to start reparenting. This is one that my clients have found pretty difficult at times, but also really beneficial, and I have benefited from it so much. And it's very simple. All you need is a picture of you from your childhood. It doesn't really matter what you look like in the picture. Some people find it difficult to look at themselves in their childhood, and that is a very strong indicator to me that there's a lot of unresolved trauma there. Find one that seems to resonate with you, whether that's resonate in a really positive way or in a way that brings up a lot of other kinds of sensations. And then put that as your lock screen on your phone. And every time you go to unlock your phone, take 15, 20, 30 seconds to talk to that child. Just introduce yourself first and allow the relationship to develop. Send love to the inner child, to that little you way back when who was going through God knows what, you know what. See what comes out of that. And if you'd like to share what comes out of that in the comments, I would love to hear, or send me an email. Reparenting is a practice that everyone can benefit from, whether you had particularly nasty parents or you can look back and genuinely say, I had a good, loving, safe, secure home. It's not about casting blame on the parents you had. It's about looking inside and learning how to give your inner child the things that they needed, that they didn't get in the way that they needed them, at the time that they needed them, or as often as they needed them. Like I said at the top, I'll be exploring this topic as I build a course around magical reparenting, so keep an eye out for those videos if this is something that interests you. Until then, check out this video on coming home to yourself. Being able to find a home within ourselves allows us to find a home within the world. Until next time, my lovelies, take care of yourselves, and as always, use your voice.